Welcome back to Learn Astrology with Mary. My name's Mary English. You can find me at www.maryenglish.com, maryenglish.co.uk and UK Astrologer. Hello. Now, I don't know how much you're reading the news, and depressing as it is. It's like super depressing. Vast quantities of people being killed for absolutely no reason, and countries being obliterated and carpet bombed. For what? But anyway. What I thought I would do today is talk about two people's charts. I don't want to talk about them, but I'm going to. And I want to focus only on Mars. Because what was running through my head was Mars is the, inverted commas, old-fashioned god of war. And if you're, not you, obviously, but if one is involved in a war, surely one should be considering the Mars that's in the person's chart. How does being at war, in whatever capacity that is, how does it fulfill or not something in someone's chart? Now, we're going to be looking at Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. Because they are the two people that have started this war. The other annoying's the wrong word. The other distressing thing is neither of these people are actually on the front line being shot at themselves. So I think, starting a war and having everybody else do it for you is different from actually being in a war, because you're following orders and your boss tells you you've got to blah blah blah, otherwise, I don't know, you get court-martialed or whatever the thing is. So I think when leaders, inverted commas, go to war, they aren't actually on the front line, so therefore they can make ridiculous decisions about stuff. And from where I'm sitting, it seems like the Netanyahu chap is permanently bombing other countries ever since whenever. That seems to be something that, and there is a bit in his chart that explains that, but it seems to be something that I'm not saying he's happy doing, I don't know if it makes him happy, but he has done an awful lot of. So war is very much in his DNA, whilst Trump has never done a war before. And there's this weird thing about politicians. I remember in the UK with Margaret Thatcher, when we went to war with the Falklands, and it was almost like she was sort of excited about it happening. And I remember Tony Blair, a similar sort of thing. They sort of get on their little podiums and they go blah blah blah, and I remember reading an article by Tony Blair's wife, can't remember her name, and then she was talking about how, and she actually used the word exciting when war was declared. It's just like, what planet are you on that the idea of bombing lots of other people for whatever reason is in some way exciting? Not a word I'd use. Anyway, enough of my opinions. So I've got both of their charts up there on the show notes. If you're on YouTube, then you need to head on over to where the podcast is hosted, which is astromary.libsyn, libsyn.com. Now, I'm not going to spend a vast amount of time on either of their charts because, talking about them makes me feel a bit on the weird side. But anyway, now astro.com has a really nice piece of free software called the AstroClick Portrait. And there's two interpretations on there for the person's chart. One is written by Robert Hand from a thing that he wrote called Youth Portrait. And there's two that turn up on there. It hasn't turned up at the minute. But there's two interpretations. Anyway, that's the one that I'm going to be reading from Robert Hand's Youth Portrait. We sort of think like, what happened, or how was this thing with this person that then grew up to do whatever it is they're doing. So we're going to kick off with Donald Trump. And he is a sun sign, Gemini in the 10th house, conjunct the North Node, conjunct Uranus. So he is the businessman. The 10th house is all about business. Now, whether or not he does honest business or whatever, that's a different matter altogether. The sun is in the 10th. And his Mars is in Leo, and it's 26 degrees 47, and his ascendant is 29.58 into the sign of Leo. So his Mars is pretty much conjunct his ascendant. Dumph. So what Robert gives us an interpretation. So I'm just reading the interpretation for Mars conjunct ascendant. We're not taking into account the fact that it's Leo. I'll do that in a tick. You are, there's nothing about this that's wrong, okay? You are strong-willed, and people quickly realise that you're not someone to trifle with. You have all the classic qualities of Mars: self-reliance, courage and daring, personal aggressiveness and independence. You're at your best working by yourself. Usually you're willing to take responsibility for what you do, and you're dependable. Well, we can ignore that bit because we know that's not true, but anyway. Your sense of personal integrity and pride makes you somewhat sensitive to comments by others that seem to indicate that they do not take you very seriously. Well, we've seen that in evidence as well. You're very competitive in every area of your life. Your aggressive energies have caused you, even while young, to dislike anything that seems soft and weak. You want to become independent at an early age. You don't like to think that you need anybody, although you can certainly be affectionate in your own way. Well, I'm not commenting on that one, so I think that one's true. So that's where his Mars is located in his chart, in Leo, on his ascendant. Now, the interpretation for Mars in Leo is: you have a great deal of pride and you enjoy doing things on your own initiative. An appeal to your sense of fairness brings out the best in you, and you'll do anything to maintain these qualities. At times you may act arrogant and domineering towards others. You can't always be first, but you have such a need to be a leader that it may be difficult for you to accept anyone else in this role. You demand that others let you be yourself so that you can run your life as you want. You probably have considerable self-confidence and even courage, but you're not especially reckless. He is, because he's got Sun conjunct Uranus. But anyway, at best you have a good understanding of yourself, of your limitations as well as your strengths. In fact, you may feel uncomfortable with your emotions and weaknesses. Well, yes. However, in Trump's case, his aggressiveness is all verbal, okay? I don't think he's ever pushed anyone around. I don't know, because I don't live with him. But I don't think he's physically aggressive. But if you know any different, then please let me know. But he's definitely extremely verbally aggressive. Non-stop, doesn't really sort of stop. Yeah. Now, in Benjamin Netanyahu's case, so he's got a Sag ascendant, Sun in Libra conjunct. I think it was Chris Brennan who was talking about both of them were born on eclipses. So one's a solar eclipse and one's the lunar eclipse. So he's got Sun conjunct Libra in the sign of Libra in the 11th house. He's got, Sun and Moon, and his ascendant is Sag, and his Mars is also in Leo. Okay, so when Netanyahu decided to bomb the living daylights out of Iran, that Mars energy, that wouldn't have been a difficulty for Trump, because he's got Mars in Leo as well. Like, oh, hey, we'll get involved in this. That sounds fun. And have you heard how Trump is talking about it? Is that he's talking about it as if it were a game, which he's so distant from the reality of it. The only thing he ever had was that person took a pop shot at him and missed. But he's not living in the real world of guns and bombs. And anyway, Mary, stay to the subject. So Netanyahu has his Mars in Leo in his 9th house, and is also conjunct to his Pluto. So in a sense, his Mars is worse. Okay, so when you combine Mars and Pluto, you're going to get some weird stuff, which astroclick portrait tells us. So we already know what Mars in Leo is like, because I've just read it to you. Mars conjunct Pluto, you have a very strong will, although you may express it in subtle ways. If you don't get your way, you may lose your temper. But when you see that it will get you nowhere, you change your tactics. The greatest problem with this aspect is that you may decide that getting your own way is the most important thing in life, and the only way to get it is by controlling others. Instead of manipulating people, you must learn how to handle others creatively so that they benefit from whatever happens as much as you do. On the plus side, this aspect can signify that you have a great deal of positive drive and ambition. You will want to accomplish a lot in life, and you'll enjoy having power over others and using it responsibly. Well, I don't see it as that, but then I'm not living in Israel, so there we go. Now, we can also take into account the aspects that Mars makes, but I don't think they're so important. So what I thought I'd include also in this analysis that we're running through today is about the MC, because let me just go back to Trump's MC. His Mars, which is in Leo, is square to his midheaven, which is in the sign of Taurus, and it's had Uranus transiting over it all the time that he's been president, and a bit before that as well. So this is Mars square midheaven now, okay? You will tend to work against yourself until you really understand what you are, who you are, and what you're doing. I don't think he does either of those things. Your immediate desires, especially if they're compulsive and urgent, may actually prevent you from getting where you want to go in the long run. Try not to be short-sighted, but do not assume that people who warn you of this are simply trying to hold you back. Your relationships with male authority figures may be quite difficult because you see them as challenging rather than trying to help you. Basically, the challenge of this aspect is to learn about yourself and your limitations so that you can have self-confidence. Okay, so that's Trump's chart. In Netanyahu's chart, let me go back. He's got Uranus square his midheaven, which doesn't help. This aspect can signify that you're rather eccentric and easily excitable. Sometimes your actions are quite unpredictable, and even though you do not take on the responsibilities that others think you should, you do carry out those duties that you impose on yourself. Unfortunately, you probably don't get along very well with people who try to tell you what to do. You feel that when they discipline you, they're merely forcing you to conform to their expectations rather than letting you be yourself. You tend to be negatively suggestible. That is, you want to do the opposite of whatever someone tells you to do, even if at first you wanted to do it. Learn to choose your interests according to what you want to do, not merely to avoid doing what someone else wants. Yeah, the only major aspects that his Mars makes is a sextile to the Sun. So, bet that conjunction to Pluto. But I thought it was interesting about the Uranus relationship with his midheaven. And with Trump has his Sun conjunct Uranus. So Trump was born unpredictable. Unpredictability is not an issue for him. Dum, 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 dum. But with Netanyahu, the decisions that he's making as far as his career goes and how other people see him is completely unpredictable. Probably predictable for himself, but not for the general run and lovely fluffiness of the world out there. He's not going to be on any sort of peace mission ever. And you sort of think, how do these people even get to such powers of position and persuasiveness? And Trump and Netanyahu have got things going on. So Trump's got Moon in Sagittarius and Netanyahu's got a Sagittarius ascendant. So we've got fire and we've got air, and then you create bonfires. And I'm quite nervous now about the fact that Uranus is going to go into Gemini in April. It's like, that's not going to make any of this any better. It's going to make it worse. There's going to be more fire and air energy knocking about the place because Pluto's in Aquarius, Uranus goes into Gemini, and Saturn and Neptune are already in Aries. So we've got all this fire and air going on there. I don't know. I feel like getting a watering can or a spray hose and being a Pisces and sort of spraying all of this air fire energy down because it's just like horrible. Now, the other thing is that Trump and Netanyahu have both got Pluto I think Trump has, let me just check. His Pluto's in Leo, and Netanyahu's Pluto is in Leo. Pluto is now transiting through the sign of Aquarius, and it's probably forming a tadly bit of a square to Trump's natal. His natal one is 10 degrees, and Pluto at the moment is 5 degrees. Mm-hmm. So the negativity of Pluto is revenge will easily come in there, but we'll see what happens. I have no idea how any of these wars are going to turn out. I have no... Check with another astrologer, that's not my department. I'm more interested, if that's the right word, it's like, why do people do the things they do? Is it nature or nurture? If you've got this and the way that the Robert Hand has written those interpretations, they're for young people. So if you stick your kiddies' charts in there and find out, what is it that you need to know about, so that you can encourage the good in their chart, and then, understand the wobbly bits and make provisions so that the wobbly bits don't get worse. Both of these people have been married 3 times, which I think is a bit strange. And they're both a similar generation, because Trump's born in 46 and Netanyahu is born in, hold on, let me just get his chart back up, disappeared it, is 49. So they're only three years apart. So they're going to sort of, in a sense, outer planetary wise now, see things in a similar light. Is that the right way of putting it? They've both got their Neptune in Libra, they've both got their Pluto in Leo. The difference is Trump is older, so his Uranus is in Gemini, whilst Netanyahu's is in Cancer. And his is located in the 7th, but I'm not going to go into all the rest of the chart. Today is about Mars. Okay, so these are people that are busily fighting. Their Marses are at the moment going to be loving, loving it, because it not only puts them into the limelight, which the sign Leo likes anyway, and Trump's got a Leo ascendant, but it's going to be activating a part of their chart that's involved with, is the good old god of war, isn't he? Now, not wishing to focus on war too much in this episode, I thought I'd also cover Mars in medical astrology. And I'm reading today from Managing Your Health and Wellness by Diane L. Kramer. And she says, Mars refers to an overworked part of the body. Its location in the body by sign receives more heat, infection, or other inflammation than other parts of the body. Mars is a fighter, and a Martian response in the body can be expressed by high fever, infection, inflammation, or irritation. Mars is associated with aches and pains in the body, and with the pain that is the result of an accident or surgery. As a ruler of accidents and operations, its sign position is vulnerable to a surgical procedure or injury. For example, Mars in Aries is susceptible to accidents to the head. Mars in Gemini is susceptible to breaking an arm or a wrist. Mars in Cancer is susceptible to abdominal surgery. The action of Mars is eruptive. Mars rules the red blood corpuscles and is involved in blood diseases such as anemia. It also has rulership over the iron levels in the blood. It rules acids and acid conditions in the body. With Mars, illness can be sudden and acute. This planet also has rulership over burns, bruising, ulcers, hemorrhages, flare-ups and muscular disorders. It's associated on a psychological level with anger and aggression. Mars is also a sexual planet and therefore describes one's sexual attitude and or sexual dysfunction, as well as one's potential to contract a sexually transmitted disease. Now, Mars in the sign, the placement of Mars is considered to relate anatomically to the part of the body that's overworked or subject to infection, inflammation, irritation or trauma. Its sign placement could indicate a part of the body that requires surgery or is subject to injury. Martian diseases usually involve fevers, infection and pain or are blood related. They tend to be acute. Now, both of our chart examples today have Mars in Leo, and she says Mars in Leo, this placement can make the heart a sensitive organ. There's potential for heart disease, heart palpitations, tachycardia, angina, pericarditis, endocarditis, and rheumatic fever. You need to consult a physician if you suspect you have a heart problem. However, there are tonic herbs for the heart, such as hawthorn, rosemary, and consuming foods containing onions and garlic is also beneficial. With Leo's rulership of the back and spine, you're prone to back injury or backaches or muscular rheumatism of the back. The back benefits from good posture, vitamins D and E, and supplements that build up the bones such as magnesium, calcium and manganese. Sunstroke's another possibility, so take proper precautions when in direct sunlight. Avoid too much heat to the back, as this can exacerbate a back condition. Mars in Leo gives energy and good recuperative ability. I don't think either of them are suffering from any major medical conditions other than old age at the moment. But yeah, that's just a bit of info on the medical side of things. But for yourself, when you're considering what makes you angry and how quickly can you resort to anger, you need to take into account whether or not your Mars is in a fire sign, because fire signs are the fastest moving elements, and so that's your Aries, Leo, Saggy. So those are the fastest Mars signs. If you've got your Mars in an air sign, which is the next fastest element of Gemini, Libra or Aquarius, then that's speedy but not as speedy. And then next we have water, which is Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, so that's not quite so quick to lose it. If you've got your Mars in an earth sign, I might need to poke you before your Mars is activated, which is Taurus, Virgo or Capricorn. I was working with somebody with Mars and Capricorn the other day. It was quite difficult to get them to even think about the last time that they got unnecessarily out of their basket or angry about something. So that's the sign that your Mars is in, not your sun sign. I'm talking about your Mars. Like, how quick might you be to get angry about something or anything, yeah? Always be aware of the two fastest are going to be your fire and your air signs. So if you're constantly getting cross about stuff, then you need to find out what your triggers are and learn to count to 10 a bit. And also you need to take into account like your anger abilities. Where is your Mars located? What house is it in? Because in Trump's case, it's right on the ascendant. It's the teeniest flipping thing, as long as he's not in the public eye and not in front of an audience and everybody's worshipping him, then boof, he gets cross. And then the other thing I would sort of think about when it comes to people's anger and stuff, what do the people that are receiving your anger, what do they do about it? What's their natural thing? I mean, if we're going to be a Buddhist now, we're going to just ignore somebody being cross. Because the worst thing you can ever say to somebody that is cross is calm down. They're not going to. But what can you do to assist people and their Mars activity in their chart? Because one of the things that happens in my job, I have to do a lot of analysis between people and their partners. And mostly women are worried about the sign that their partner's Mars is in. So that they're not thinking that, but the thing that makes close personal relationships more difficult is the anger that one or other partner might express, because it could be just for anything. And then in family situations, domestic situations, there's constantly trying to make the Mars better in the person's chart or completely ignore me. I don't know what Meliana does when Trump loses it. Does she go into another room? Does she shut the door? Does she, give him something to eat? No idea. Poof. Don't know. I've just checked. She's got her natal Mars in Gemini, but she's sun conjunct Saturn in Taurus. Mercury, Taurus, Venus, Taurus. Trump doesn't have any Taurus planets, but his midheaven is. So it's almost as if he needs her to as a sort of bolster to his professional view. Like if he didn't have her and he couldn't go around, with a woman on his arm and stuff, then he'd look completely different. But for your own Mars, like if you find that you're getting cross all the time, is it a transit? Is it a location of your Mars? What house is it in? And what is it that sets you off? Certain things definitely set me off. My Mars is it's conjunct my Venus in my 6th house of work, so work things are the things that will make me cross, and also health related things, because it's the house of health. Anything to do with hospitals or doctors or whatever, those are the things that are likely to make me get cross. And also look to see, what aspects your Mars is making. Is it triggered by other planets natally? So there's that to take into account. But for yourself, when you're looking at your Mars and your chart, it definitely is the anger planet. It most certainly is, and how the person's going to express it. And will they hold on to whatever it is they're cross about for a long amount of time, which is more likely to happen in the sign of Scorpio, because Scorpio can hold on to things for a considerable amount of time, Mars and Scorpio, and then eventually you hear about it, but you won't hear about it straight away. But they might possibly hold a grudge. And then does your natal Mars, like in Netanyahu's case, conjunct something else? So that's going to affect it. And say the location of it. In his case, his Mars and Pluto are in his 9th house. So it's almost like, you've got to believe in me. And if you're not following the same sort of beliefs that I've got, then I'm going to be not your mate anymore. Now, it's perfectly possible to have exactly the same placements as these two people. I was looking at Astro Data Bank earlier. There's an astronaut, a lady astronaut, who has the Sun in Gemini and Mars in Leo on the ascendant in Leo, and she became an astronaut. So she wasn't involved in any wars or anything. So it's not to say that Mars in Leo on the ascendant means that you're going to be going to war with people all the time, or even at all, because it depends where your career goes. Trump's a businessman. That's all he knows about, ripping people off and making loads of money. That's his definition of business. But he's got no experience of war as a thing. He hasn't ever been in any armies or anything. And I think he missed his military service because apparently he had spurs in his feet or something that take him on. And I don't think he's got an idea at all about what happens when you bomb somewhere and what it feels like to have 1 minute your house is there, the next minute isn't. Not only that, not only is your house gone, but half your family's gone, or all of your family have gone, and all the hospitals have gone, and all this. So yeah, have a think about Mars, the sign you've got it in, the placement, the energy that's with it. And if there's someone that really drives you crazy, look to see where their Mars is and how it aspects in your chart. Is there a square, an opposition, a clash? But it is definitely the planet that governs. I can see why the ancients called it the god of war, because that's you can't go to war and do it peacefully. It ain't gonna happen. So war as a thing is the anger. There has to be anger there. You're not going to go to war with another country because you love them. You're not going to fall out with someone or get cross about something that you're happy with. Is it part of human nature? Yes, we've got Mars and we've got Venus in our charts. We're all going to feel something somehow. But have a look at yours and get in touch with me if you need to. Want to talk about it? It's mary@maryenglish.co.uk. And I hope you have a fab week. And I'll be back next week. Bye-bye now.